Good evening. Just want to call this meeting to order. This is the Lake Ponderay School District number 84 regular board meeting number 815. It is Tuesday, August 11th, 2026 at 5 p.m. And first order of business is doing the Pledge of Allegiance. So please rise, move your head here. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the agenda.
I make a motion to adopt the agenda as published.
I second.
All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Right. So first up, we have the Strengths Task Force with Janae Moore and team.
So I just want to take this opportunity to thank you all for allowing us to present today to talk about the implementation of strengths into the Lake Ponderay School District. I know it's something we're all incredibly passionate about. So on today's agenda, just a roadmap of what we're going to talk about. You're going to meet the task force, get some names and faces. You're going to learn a little bit about what strengths are and what the benefits of strengths could be for students and our district. You're going to hear some great student testimonials and our proposed phases of implementation and our communication flow chart. You're also going to see some student work from our elementary pilot program this last spring. And you're going to get the opportunity to transition your strengths from Finder to Explorer to really speak that elementary language. And you're also going to hear some staff testimonials. So let's meet the team. First of all, I just want to say how grateful I am for these people standing here. Everyone has worked so hard. They've really dedicated time, energy, creativity into making this all possible. My name is Janae Moore. I work at Sandpoint High School as a school counselor, and I am the task force lead. We have Amanda Valera. She works at Sandpoint Middle School as a teacher. Monica Ringer is also at Sandpoint Middle School as a teacher. Geraldine Meyer is with me at Sandpoint High School as a counselor. And then we have Stephanie Eldor, who is at Washington Elementary. Caleb Ringham is also on our team, who wasn't able to make it tonight, but he is a counselor at both Sagal and Southside. So that's our team. So what is StrengthsFinder? StrengthsFinder is a 30-minute assessment that helps identify an individual's natural talents and their patterns for thinking, behaving, and feeling. And the goal is to really help students identify what they're naturally good at and then give them that language so that they can really define what their skills and talents are. So the goal isn't to focus on their weaknesses, but to focus on their strengths and their potentials and to help them apply that into school, into relationships, into leadership opportunities, and their future careers. So why strengths? Why is this important? We know, and research tells us, that when students know who they are and they know what their strengths are, they're more successful. And that's what this programming does. It increases their self-awareness, it increases their confidence, and their positive self-image. But it's not only positive for students, it's positive for the classroom environment as well. So when students know their strengths, and then they begin to appreciate the strengths of the students around them, you see increased relationships, you see increased communication and collaboration in the classroom, creating that positive environment. But that does not stop with the benefits just for students in the classroom. Teachers get benefits as well. They're gaining valuable insights into how their students communicate, how they engage, how they learn, so they can deepen those classroom relationships and help create meaningful learning experiences in the classroom. We know that strengths works. It's observable, it's measurable, and it's sustainable. When students know who they are and know what their strengths are, we see engagement increasing and classroom environments being stronger.
He was just he just got off the river and he rushed over here. Excellent.
I was looking at Caleb's strategic.
Where are we? Oh, okay, so you've heard a little bit from us. You all got the experience to take the strengths and you have the awareness trainer. But what we really think is that you should learn and hear what our students have. This is one of our groups that we piloted and just they gave a few thoughts. So.
What's your name and what's your number one strength?
My name is Izzo and my number one strength is positivity.
What is your biggest takeaway?
My biggest takeaway is that I can use my positivity to uplift others.
How have you used your strengths?
I've used my strength by making friends and staying positive.
What strength stands out and why?
The strength that stands out to me the most is woo, because a lot of people in our class got woo.
My name is Keelan and my number one strength is woo.
What is your biggest takeaway?
My biggest takeaway is that woo has increased my talkativeness and being more open with other people, because that's how I always have been, but I wasn't aware of that. And so now I kind of try to embrace it a little bit more and ask more questions, talk more, and be more involved in school.
The strength that stood out to me the most was futuristic. This strength gave me my aha moment of giving me confidence to use my strength outside of school by putting confidence in planning for my future.
So those are just a few samples from some of our students. We have purposely and intentionally designed our rollout as multi-year so that it is sustainable, meaningful, and it's adopted across the board. And so I think that's one of the really neat things about having our task force and working with DLT is the fact that we have really spent a lot of time thinking about our rollout. And so phase one, we have completed, that was our staff implementation last year, so all staff in our district actually took the Strengths Finder and had the awareness training, which was incredible, and we were so lucky to have our person who just, our guru, you guys were trained, she was able to do all that with all of our schools.
Yeah,
Jeannie did all of it, and so, I mean, like all of our schools had Jeannie and our staff did, so I mean, it was just incredible. So that was phase one we've gotten, and then phase two, we started to actually do some program design and do some pilots. And so we were able to pilot in the 6th grade at Sagal, we were able to pilot at the middle school, and then we were able to pilot at the high school. So that was really exciting for students to actually, get some feedback and sort of, get some recommendations, and then we've been able to work with DLT for what we learned through that process. So we're excited about this. This year will be our initial student implementation, where we'll be actually giving it to all 10th and 11th graders at the high school level, and then we'll be starting it with, they'll be getting strengths, and then the we'll be getting explore, no, we're getting binder at the 10th grader, you guys get explore, like the youngers, 6th, 7th, and 8th. So not everyone, but we have almost everyone will have that. So we're really excited about starting to roll that out. And then next year, we'll have full program expansion. We'll have a plan in place for new students, just to really make sure everybody is up to date. And I think what's neat about it is our task force will sort of start stepping back as our schools come more abroad. And so I think that's one of the great things that we've really thought about it, and that we'll be reaching 6th through 12th grade students. And then our fifth phase 5 will be our full implementation. And this is actually now where students will be bringing it back into their student-led conferences and to the senior year, their future readiness project. So we already have some plans to be able to embrace that as kind of their culmination, so when students leave. So that's really an exciting thing for us as far as this. And it just really, I think, has been a thoughtful approach, and it has allowed us to really make sure we're being intentional, thinking things through, getting everybody on board, and making sure that we're going to be able to, gather our feedback that we need, our capacity is there, and then really make sure we have a strength-based culture, which is really what we want to bring forward with our students and our staff and our schools and our climate. And so we're excited so that it can be sustained for the long term. So we're really excited about that. Okay, our next one, please, Kelly. This is our communication chart, which I think just really, you know, at the top is our DLT team, but at the bottom is our students, because really there's the ones that benefit the most from this, and this is what so much about it is. Our strength task force, we work with the counseling and our wellness team, and we also work with teachers and staff, but we are just part of the team, where it kind of also DLT, and then it comes down to principals, to teachers and staff. So you can see there's a lot of support, but the bottom line is that all the students will end up with this. And that, you know, we're really trying to make sure that they know it's part of their student-led conference and part of the Future Readiness Project, which was the old senior project that the state has adopted now to our Future Readiness Project. And so we're piloting that with our 11th graders, so giving at each go. Okay. And I think what's really important is that every student has a superpower. And so we're here to share.
Well, the drop thing is really paying off.
Yeah, look. You needed to pick one. Thank you, Caleb, for embracing that. You're awesome. I'm sorry, I kind of forgot. That we want to share a little bit because everybody has a superpower. So, ready?
Wait, ready? Hold on.
Oh, okay.
Maybe I don't have that slide anymore. Oh, that's what it is. Every student has a superpower. Our job is to help them discover it, develop it, and use it.
You're supposed to have actions. Yeah, there you go.
So Amanda and I were the ones that piloted it in our classrooms this year. So I was 6th grade at Sagal, and she was the middle school leadership team, or I guess
Leadership
class.
class, yep.
So she's going to talk about what she did.
Okay, so as the leadership teacher, I think I came to Dr. Meyer a couple times and said, I don't know what to do with this group. They're really low achieving, not as motivated as my previous year's classes. And she offered this opportunity to have them take the Strengths Explorer test. And that happened in January. And then Jeannie came in, did a little spiel with them, and talked about their strengths, got them to know like what those talents really were and how they kind of like would be exemplified in their behaviors. They told them a little bit about their growth areas or their kryptonites. But then I got the opportunity to do like a lot of one-on-ones with students, and then I had them create posters. But I brought some of them. They actually really wanted to keep them, so it was hard for me to get some of them as examples. But I made an example so that I had it for years to come, because this is going to be something that I do with my leadership kids. And I think it's part of our implementation plan as well as the middle school, just to like show that we have these strengths. These are my 3 summed up from my big 5. So discover, caring, and organizer. And my only requirements was that they had one icon that represented that for them. They had their name, and then they had the 3 strengths on there. On the back, they talked about how those strengths work together, and how it worked for leadership specifically. Kind of trying to really tie into like, where do you see this fitting into our class, but also where do you see this fitting in beyond this class? So I'll share some of those with you guys. Some other students, like, and every one of them was different. It was really cool to see like the individual autonomy on all the different art, you know, that the kids could come up with and what they connected each of these things with. There were some really beautiful ones that I wish I could have taken, but I understand why they wanted to keep them. From there, I was able to take those strengths and use those students in specific jobs with leadership. So with leadership, it's like the ASB at high school, but for the middle school. So I was able to take students who had presence and put them in roles where they were in front of their peers giving speeches or leading pep rallies or doing other things that required them to have those kind of strengths. Not that I don't want to challenge every kid, but because they have that strength, it was easier for me to nudge them in a direction that really tailored to them. Or creatively speaking, students who are really good at coming up with ideas, I could pair them with someone who maybe wasn't, but really artistic. And I could get them together and they could create something together. So it was really helpful at the middle school level. I'm really excited to have it for the whole school. I think it will be really beneficial for a lot of teachers to be able to pair students with and group them together. I think it's going to be great for students to know, right, that they can, as a middle schooler, it's kind of a wishy-washy time.
you're going through a lot, your hormones are raging, but to know that you have talents and strengths that you can like look back on and say, no, I am good at something, is really important at that time of their life.
So my sixth graders, you know, they're just figuring out who they are as well, you know, not so much of what their parents want them to be, but what they're feeling. So after our assessment, I had them make a digital superhero that highlighted their strengths along with nameplates, much like Amanda's posters, that had, you know, their strengths and how they felt like that matched up with what they either enjoyed to do or, you know, or how they like to work well with others. I paired students together. We formed groups based on either their highlighted top strengths, their similarities, or their complementary strengths. So same kind of thing that Amanda did. And we only had about a good month of implementing this into my classroom, but they started to get really excited about hearing, you know, oh gosh, like I'm really good at this, or that is right, you know, I love to be, you know, compassionate or whatever. So with that, we want to take a look at, since we have the Explorer versus the Finder, we're gonna pass out, so next slide. We want you guys to see the difference in what Explorer is and Finder.
Thank you.
So they're gonna pass out your strengths. Little refresher if you don't remember. So our 6th through 8th graders are gonna do the Strengths Explorer, which uses strength language, but it is designed specifically for the younger learners. So if you look up at, I guess it is that way, yours is like 34 themes, but what our 6th through 8th graders are gonna have is only 10 themes. Same language, but you can see kind of where yours falls and then what they're gonna be using as their strengths. So kind of, it you know, shortens it a little bit.
Yeah. And part of our implementation in the middle school is to have all the staff take their 5 and put it back down to this Strengths Explorer language, because it is more relatable for that younger learner to be able to say like, oh, they're a future thinker like me. What is strategic? Like maybe they have an idea of what strategic really means, but they don't know exactly what that looks like. But to have commonalities and use the same language with the students is really important for us as the middle school team and younger age team. So, and then I was gonna say this too, I think this is the only year that we're gonna be implementing with all 6th through 7th and 8th. Next year, we will only be doing those 6th graders because we will already have everybody coming to us. So we really we said, we're gonna do it, get it out of the way so every kid can know and we can all be on the same team, so that the middle school can be really cohesive, as our year is already kind of not as cohesive with the school the way that it is. We need to have something that's common for all of us, so we just said, let's do it, let's get it out of the way.
Yeah. Next slide. Just some testimonials, obviously myself and Amanda, but Mrs. Hamer from Washington Elementary has actually been doing this, and she implemented it into their 6th grade leadership. So using strengths with both students and staff has been highly impactful in my role as a building leader. I intentionally leverage students' strength to help them identify leadership opportunities where they can grow, contribute, and succeed. Likewise, I incorporate staff strengths into PLC meetings to foster collaboration, build capacity, and empower our Washington team to become the best version of itself. It's the same thing. They're doing it with students and with their staff. All right. So, any questions?
So you may.
No, I'm glad that you guys, that we're implementing it. It's interesting, my company has used strength finders for a number of years, so I have some experience with it. Mine changed. Apparently I'm getting a little soft. Anyways.
Well, they say to take it, you know, after major life changes
Yes.
or,
Had any of those.
you know,
Yeah.
as
So
we
what
get
happened,
older.
Boy.
Safe space.
Yeah.
Any questions or comments?
No, I took my first one the other day though, so.
You're not very strong.
Yeah. Oh. I have some good qualities. let's
Okay.
say. Some of them are, I was like, oh, wow, really? Huh.
So were we.
I think it's cool though that it identifies the strengths. It's not like this list of like, here are your weaknesses. It's here are your strengths and like here can be the kryptonite in your strengths. But it's not like you're super strong here, but this you're weak at.
Yeah.
It's just a like building.
And I think
building
that's
them
something
up.
that's important is like, it's not that you're not good at this one thing either, this is just where you are truly shining, right? So these are your 5 or 3 that you are exemplifying all the time versus like, not that you ever can't be a woo or anything else, right? It's just that this is what shows the most for you.
And I think it teaches kids to use their strengths to help in their weakness areas too. So
Yeah.
how can I use what I'm good at to pull up my weakness
Yeah.
area?
Yeah.
I
Well, and
think
give
it's
them
powerful.
confidence with their peers, like, I'm strong, you know, this is my strength, just because, you know, maybe I don't understand why I can't do that, because that's their strength, or why, you know, I don't fit in this same box as my friends.
And we actually did a PAVE grant with our College 101 students, 3 years ago? I don't even remember, 2, I can't remember. Whenever we had a PAVE grant, and we did it with our College 101 students, which were seniors, and they incorporated it into their college essays, and it really gave them some great insight into themselves personally. So that was a real bonus.
Yeah. What I like about it is it takes the word can't out of their vocabulary.
Yeah.
And what can I do with my friends or with school, and I don't have to use the word can't anymore. Good job, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, thank you to DLT, because they've helped us immensely, so appreciate that.
Yes.
I'm gonna keep mine, it's purple.
Next up, we have Facilities Director Matt Deal, so facilities update.
Thank you, Dr. Meyer, Chair Williams, members of the board, and JD, can you fiddle with that thermostat and get it to override on? Find where it says occupied or something.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Other duties as assigned.
Yes. Well, he's back there lingering, so.
It's a small print.
All right, we'll go ahead and get started while he works on that. So this is just an overview of our square footage and acreage, number of buildings. I'm not going to read these first few slides. The staff, we have in-house maintenance, highly qualified professionals, excellent custodians. There's 28 on board, in-house grounds department, about 88 acres. We have a utility person that does district delivery. We deliver and warehouse the child nutrition food. And in the summer, he does groundskeeping. We have a warehouse person, 2 office people, myself and my admin assistant. I try not to be in the office more than needed, so I do get out and about quite a bit. And now I'll roll into our summer projects and things we've been working on for some time. This we started actually last summer. We found some dry rot under Sagal Elementary, and this job's 100% complete with a ventilated, conditioned crawl space now. So we pull building air down through the crawl space, and it's going to be nice and dry. It's really well done. So that's complete. We ended up with a couple newly carpeted classrooms out of it. Did some roofing at Washington. It was actually out on the portables and north side, one section of the roof, and found an area that had been just getting wet over the years, but it's all fixed and complete, so that project is done. And this we talked about at previous meetings. We got a grant for replacing some ventilation equipment at Northside and Washington. So this project is nearly complete now. That picture was a little while back, replacing the actual unit that the steam flows through. Not just, I don't want to mislead you, this is not an entirely new heating system. So these systems still have sections heated by steam that you'll probably hear back in the next few years. Hopefully as we continue to work on buildings that we still need to do more work to these systems. But this, we were able to put together an attractive grant, replace these pieces of equipment, increase the ventilation reliability in these classrooms, and so we're getting that done. Parking lot maintenance, we did some paving at Northside also, and some parking lot improvements at Sandpoint High School. Turned out really nice. Grounds maintenance, you know, it's constant in the summer. This summer, irrigation-wise, has been a big chore trying to keep up with, you know, 5 weeks or so of zero rain. But they're doing a good job, and thanks to Shelby for the drone shots, you'll see it coming up. But we're able to, like, in some of the drone shots, we can see, oh wow, you can really see where the sprinklers are working, where they aren't. But then I was really proud of the crew, because Shelby's been great with the drone shots, and I mean, kind of high maintenance. So she just was taking last minute pictures yesterday, and of the high school, it's like, you guys, look at, like, it's looking really good. So they've really done a good job. And playground maintenance and upgrades, every year we take on a couple playground projects for the schools. Schools do a great job fundraising, and it seems like a lot of times the playgrounds rise to the top, and we're able to take on a little bit of installations each year. So we did an installation at the Homeschool Academy this year for some playground equipment that they fundraised for. Some carpeting replacement on the schools. Those pictures are Clark Fork. This is another fundraise project that turned out really nice. This is like an outdoor classroom pavilion at Kootenai that they fundraised for. Facilities helped with a lot of logistics and the cost of permitting and a little bit of incidental work. But if you're at the school, it's a prefabricated steel structure that's really, really high quality. That's going to be there for a long, long time. I'm proud of it. I think it turned out nice. And a huge effort for Kootenai for fundraising for that. That was they fundraised for 2 years for that. Just knuckled down and got it done. This is another fundraise project out of Clark Fork that we installed for them. That flagpole, I think that's 35 feet. It's a really nice big flagpole out of the stadium. So another neat project. We continue to work on safety and security things. We rekeyed some buildings this year, continue working on access control. We completed the access control at Kootenai and rekeyed the building this summer. So that there's, some of us have keys, but mostly everybody gets in and out with their card. So those upgrades continue. We actually have 4 schools now that are really access control, 98%. Clark Fork, Hope, Kootenai, and Sandpoint High School. So, Southside, we had problems with the sewer system out there without getting into too many details. It was a big challenge to figure out what was wrong. Finally, we're just like, well, I guess we just have to dig. And there's a old septic tank that was buried under asphalt. So anyways, there was a rotted out pipe. Anyways, it's fixed and up and working, but it happened.
You don't want to go into details.
Yeah, we'll leave it at that. Yeah. Preventative maintenance every summer, you know, actually not just during the summer, we do this year round, but here's an example of some of the kitchen equipment that they're PMing, preventive maintenance, and then a boiler, that's a steam boiler at Washington. Every year that equipment is taken apart and inspected by insurance company, cleaned. So that's another thing that we do. Custodial work, tons, painting, floors, a lot of that going on. There's a couple more custodial slides. I mean, they do a lot, and they do a great job. Empty out the classrooms, you know, top to bottom cleaning. We have a lot of really talented people that are able to do other things other than just clean. A lot of the painting, light maintenance too. It's a great program. Floor refinishing, we do almost all the gyms ourselves. That one at Sandpoint High School, that one is actually subbed out. But The other gyms, we finish all ourselves. This one, Kootenai, that just got finished today. That was prepping yesterday, the picture on the left there. But Sandpoint High School, that's finished and actually running, I think, probably 12 hours a day now for sports with the smoke. So this is the old driver's ed building that we're all familiar with. This project of adding the restrooms, the first phase of this project is nearly complete. This was a while ago. This is all painted now. The toilets are installed. It's really close to installed partitions, and that project will be complete. Yeah, this picture was a little while back. The CT culinary classroom, super fun, really beautiful project. That's like the 3D concept. It's pretty fun to see what it's going to look like. And then this is moving along nicely. This was a couple weeks ago with all the plumbing. This is the old carpentry shop, and carpentry's now out in the new CTE. So that was a couple weeks ago with the plumbing rough, and then the concrete was poured back. And this is today, so that you can see a whole bunch of new ductwork up there and some framing going in. So that's progressing nicely. This is on track to finish for. They'll start using the second semester. And then the middle school. Boy, I can't wait for it to look like that someday. In a little over a year, we'll be looking like that. But this is before and afters drone shots, thanks to Shelby. And you can see, I'll just point out. So the new dressing room and locker rooms will be back there. The roof is complete all the way around. Just to the east wing is the only part that they're finishing, and they were really working on that today. The cafeteria there has walls being framed, not in the middle of that courtyard, and then the new classroom and office will be here, and we're really pushing to have that parking lot done and some of the other pieces by the time school starts. So if you see me lurking in the area, even after hours, seeing, how long the contractors are working, what they actually accomplished, then don't be surprised. These are just some more middle school pictures. I just like that picture. This is this afternoon. That new concrete pad is where the new walk-in cooler is going to go. The kitchen addition there, and then the framing is where the cafeteria expansion. That's the picture on the right. The picture on the left is the footings and walls for, that's the wrestling room there that you're looking into. Next slide. The roof, the roof, like I said, is probably 75%. The gym was already done a few years ago. The rest of the roof is probably 75%. They're getting all the curbs, the platforms where the new ventilation system units go. They're getting all that prepped, even on the wings that'll be worked on this winter. That way this winter, like 99% of the roof work is going to be done. We'll move into the area we finished, move out of the classrooms in December, that we're starting in that east wing, and then the ductwork will be stubbed down, and we'll just be hooking up some most of that outside work that is really weather dependent. On the remodel parts will be done. The new construction parts, they'll still be powering through those. But that's the kitchen on the right. Added grease trap in there. There's lots of unknowns and changes as we navigate through this. There's lots of little things, and that was expected. The bathroom remodel on the left, that they're drywalling today, so it's quite a pass where that is. That floor is going to be polished 17th, and then fixtures and bathroom partitions. So the goal is to have that open by the time school starts. So it's very busy in there. This was a while ago. The hallways, all the hallways, the ceilings are gone, and we'll go through next school year. There'll be a fire-resistant plastic up there, sealed around the lights. But this way we can get a lot of the infrastructure done ahead of time this summer. And then the CTE Center, that's a before, And this was a week or so ago. This project is really close to complete, just some punch list items, and turned out really, really nice, and I'm sure we'll see most of you there on the 15th of September for the grand opening. A couple different angles, and then a picture of a classroom, and that's all. Do you have any questions?
That's busy. Looks like a lot of stuff going on to me.
Yeah, it's busy. Yeah.
I think it's super exciting. Yeah.
We do have a really good team, and we have a good team of contractors. We have a good in-house team of my team. I'm leaning on some of my team more to backfill some of the stuff that I would normally be more involved in out in the field. But it's going well.
Yeah, awesome. I really appreciate you guys. Like you see it when you step on our campuses. They're beautifully maintained. You guys stretch a dollar a very long ways. You got a great staff, so kudos to you guys. So.
All right. Well, yeah. Thanks for having me, and thanks for the air conditioning.
That's good leadership. Next up, we have our financial update with CFO Brian Walls. Howdy. Hi.
Chair Williams, board members, Dr. Meyer. So here is the monthly report. We're actually, for this month, I'm going to report on June. There we go. So same format. So a couple highlights I wanted to show with the green arrows. First, this I have preliminary up there because our final June report will be with when we do all our final accruals and everything sort of gets, all bills are paid and accounts receivable, accounts payable, all those accounting type things that we do, and get that with the audit. And so the final numbers will be presented to you when the audit report comes in November. But for right now, when we're looking before we do a lot of that work, we're in process right now. If you look on the revenue side, we received pretty much most of the money from the state. The only thing that is coming in still right now is property tax collections for our supplemental permanent levy. You can see that we have about, so far, almost 3.6 million still that will probably roll in for a final. We'll be near that 12.7 million. Sometimes it's a little more if you have like penalties and past interest and other collections, things like that. On the middle line where I have that minus 95,565, if you combine, what I'm comparing is salaries and benefits total from budget to actuals. And those are going to change some because we do have an adjustment we make at year end where some salaries and benefits gets charged to another fund with Medicaid revenues. We always do that at the end of the year. So that 95, which is actually a negative, like we overspent, will be in the black. It'll go the other side, but not a few $100,000. But I just wanted to show that, that's a $44 million budget just in our general fund for salaries and benefits. And our actuals, when you think about it, within $100,000 is pretty good estimating what we think our costs are going to be. And I just want to point out that it's not just me. I've been doing this a long time, so I think I'm pretty good at it. But how actuals come to budget means that we're in communication, not just with me and my finance team, but that with administration, with the superintendent, because the superintendents like to spend a lot of money. And actually even with the principals who are working with the superintendent, that when there's staffing challenges, and we certainly have needs out there and could grow in areas, that they find ways that they can stay at least within the parameters that we're trying to set for the year. Because really, if a school district, I guess there's always exceptions to the rule, gets in troubles financially, it's salaries and benefits, because that's really where your costs are going. So it's something that we just constantly monitor. I just went back, because there's some years we won't be that close, but this year we did a good job staying within what we're trying to accomplish. And finally, you see the last green arrow that says that we're in the red, minus $4 million. Well, that's with this report, but we still have 3.5 of property tax collections that will come in plus some of those other adjustments. So probably this year will be right about even Steven. We might be a little bit up, a little bit down. I don't think it'll be a large fund balance increase or decrease. So that's good, that's better than budget. But next year we did build a budget where we're likely to be in the red side. So the next slide. This just shows our spending for the year by object, and that's just reflecting of the previous slide. You can see salaries and benefits are very close actuals to our green, and budget is blue. We didn't purchase services were a little bit lower. Material supplies were high, but capital items were low. That's because we actually recoded stuff that we did budget as capital, but coded it to supplies because of just the accounting rules. But otherwise, we're looking pretty solid. If we look for our month, the month of June, you can see that 92% of our dollars went to salaries and benefits, and it was $9.8 million, which is way more than a normal month, but that's because teachers, counselors, many classified staff, they've already earned their dollars at the end of the school year in June, but they get a paycheck in July and August, so those get charged back to June. So that's reflecting that, that's why it's big. And then finally, the last slide is revenues. You can see that really on the green, we've collected pretty much all the revenue we get from the state and other sources except for the supplemental levy, with that 3.5 still going to come. Finally, the last item of note, this I'll try to explain as best I can. You might have heard some news. There's been in the Idaho Education News, and some local papers have picked it up. But this is actually not good news. So you hear all this good stuff before me, and then I come here to bring down the room. So the Idaho School Benefit Trust. So it's a cooperative of just many school districts going into a pool for health benefits. And so they do it in many other states, and it is the biggest trust in Idaho. So we have been a member since 2015, and the trust contracts with Blue Cross, that's our insurance carrier, to administer the health benefit program. And we work with a broker with the trust. Anyway, we found out just a couple weeks ago, so after we did our renewal this year and all those things, this happened just mid-July, that the trust is broke. They, as they called it, they've exhausted their reserves. So what does that mean? They have a deficit of, I don't know, because I'm getting this actually from papers. We haven't got any specific information from the trust. But it's between $13 and $15 million is what the Idaho Education has reported. To give that context, in 2020, they had a fund balance of $22 million, went down to $2.1 million in 2024. We're in 2026, and they're at negative 13. So, obviously, if you look at that trend, at some, those insurance, usually if you're an insurance plan and quoted, they call it, it's running hot, the next year your rates really go up to make up for those losses. So, and those renewal rates, as we get those rates for the trust works on those rates. They come to what they think they need to do. And then the Idaho Department of Insurance reviews it. Actuaries look at the numbers. So throughout the years, more than one set of eyes has been looking on this. Regardless of, there's probably multiple factors that would come out of why we're at this point. But this is a self-insured group. So that means the participants, we're on the hook for the funding shortfall. So that is actually going to change moving forward in 2026-27. Blue Cross is going to take on the risk. I'll talk about that because that doesn't mean that's a great thing. It is good in some ways. But for right now, I've talked to the broker. We haven't got specific information. We were supposed to know last week, but they've delayed it. Should hopefully know this week. But, I mean, the reports in the Idaho News and other things, we are, as a member, we have to help make up that gap. My guess, and I could be wrong, 0, that'd be great, maybe it'll be more, but I'm thinking we're gonna have to write a one-time check between $400,000 to $800,000 to make up for the difference. Just, I don't know, we'll give you more information when I know. When moving forward, for like when Blue Cross is insured, we'd never have this because they're taking on the risk. But then, of course, except for this year, the 19.5, the previous 10 years, the trust, we averaged 6.1% increases, which is below probably most groups in the nation. So, I mean, I think that was probably part of the reason is that maybe we should have been averaging 8% or as the group. The other thing that might have participated to some of this is that when the state did have some the opportunity for some districts to go to the state plan, just another big group, about 24 members moved. Some of them were some large school districts, and so we might that might have resulted in a shallower pool that may be impacted. So I don't know, I'm just sort of guessing some of the impacts. Regardless, it's not great news. The good news as far as that we do have a healthy fund balance. And one reason, that you always want to say, no, we want to have some money in the bank just in case things that are unknown happen. This is very unusual. It will be harder on some of our peers who aren't in the financial condition we are. Of course, if you got enough surprises like this, then maybe we wouldn't be so healthy. But anyway, that is my happy news. And when we know exactly what the impact is, we'll let you know.
Okay. Any questions? Does everybody split it evenly, or is the bigger the school, the bigger the piece of pie you have to put in?
I think it's going to be proportionally by how many people you have insured.
Okay.
So not only is it, and I don't know how they're going to calculate it, but they might say, one they had in the paper was $29 per member per month. So let's say it's $29, you have 1,000 members, and times it by 12, that's student development. I don't know how that goes. So a member doesn't just include employees, it's also the dependents, so spouse, kids. So we have approximately, actually we had the numbers recently for part of our audit is doing some post-employment benefit stuff. So anyway, we had about 550 employees and about 390 dependents is our number. But
well, fingers crossed that it goes better than planned.
Right.
Cross that bridge when we get there.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Dr. Becky Meyer, the superintendent report.
First, I'd like to call up Mike Crabb. He is this is a big deal. I moved it to the front of the superintendent report, and I asked James if he could be here to thank and congratulate Mike for us. We've never had a driver at nationals before. This is a really big deal. And I just appreciate everything about Mike. I think really what sums him up is our mission statement, which is on the wall, which is up here. If you read the article and you talk to Mike, Shelby was there, and you listen to what he says, he really cares about each and every student. And I just encourage you to read his article, the article that was written about him. I did have this laminated so you could put that up, and I wrote you a note. And then I got you a pie because I thought this would something. So I just wanted to let everyone know he is 10th in the nation. So he won at state, which we've never had happen before either. So that in of itself is like a huge accomplishment. But then he made it to nationals and was 10th in the entire nation. So this is like a super, super big deal, and it takes a lot of skill, and he studied a lot, and it's hard work. I mean, you have to do a lot of very intricate things with buses. Is that correct?
Very.
So I don't know if you want to say anything, but I really wanted to put you. Okay.
to.
Which one?
We're on Westmond.
Okay.
So we're the 3 little kiddos that are on that driveway. They love you. They love the riddles that you give them in the morning, and when they found out, they were so proud of you.
Oh, I'm excited.
Very cool.
Kids.
Thank you.
Thanks. Good job.
It's wonderful to start with the good news. I do, before we go on to that, I want to preface this by saying, I just want to ask for your patience. I think it's important that the board and the public hears our response to the grievance. That was a public comment last time. And it was a pretty rough meeting. If you weren't here in person, all of you were, as were I. And I know as a leader, you're leaders as well, and I know as a leader, not everyone's going to like your decisions. They're not going to, if you look at any leader in our entire world, not everybody agrees with you. That's part of what comes with the territory. It even can sometimes get personal. That I don't even mind that as much. But when it comes to disparaging the district with things that are not factual, that's where I really draw the line. So I have been, in my opinion, I've been very professional up to this point. I'm going to continue to be professional. That's my role. But I also am going to be very blunt tonight, and I'm going to be very honest in what is given to you last month in this 40-page grievance. So I'm going to go on to the public comment. Now, the reason I'm doing it in this section is because the board asks me every time when there's public comments at a prior board meeting, as Chair Williams states, this is a board meeting held in public, which is why when we present to the board, and the audience is here to view. We cannot legally have discourse back and forth with the board and the audience, nor with the speakers. So the board asks that after all the public comments that I gather the facts and come back to the next board meeting to report back to the board what was our follow-up, and so that everyone in the public is kept apprised of it as well. So you each got a copy of this, and then it's also electronically. I linked it into here. It was submitted to the School Board of Trustees last month at our meeting. I use what's called the most respectful interpretation. I call it the MRI. I've dealt that way with my professional career. Anybody who's worked with me will say, oh, she'll ask you what the MRI is. She'll ask you what the MRI is. And it's not the MRI like the medical profession uses, but the most respectful interpretation. So my commitment to the staff and what I ask for the staff is to always use the most respectful interpretation until you have the facts. So when I went through this grievance, this 40-page grievance, I really try to use a growth mindset. What can we as a district do to improve? We're all about continual improvement. That's why we're in the education business. As I reported to the board, I know not everybody agrees with me. I know not everybody shares my perspective, and I'm definitely willing to say that we make mistakes and that we will correct them and do as best as we can, always in the service of students. I try to use the most respectful interpretation. I really wish that this group had asked to meet with me and sit down. We could have followed the grievance policy, sat down and talked about it. There was no request to meet. This was just given to us. I do want to preface and letting you know when we go through this, there are blatantly false allegations, there's misinterpretation of the law, and there's outright fabrications. So I hesitate to be this blunt, but I just think it's important that the public knows and that the board knows. When you have 40 pages that have been submitted, not only to the school board, but to the deputy prosecuting attorney in our county, to the CFO of the state, to the prosecuting attorney of the state of Idaho, to the special ed department at the state, and possibly beyond that. This goes beyond talking face to face. This is allegations that have been given to those levels that our district has done something wrong, and that the school board and myself have blatantly done things wrong. This is not true. In this, there is either complete gross incompetence on putting this together, or there's blatant lying and false. It is not okay for that information to be shared publicly.
because it's disparaged your reputations as a school board volunteering to serve students and your constituents, and it's disparaged myself and all of the staff that works in this district. You know that we are a great district. I feel like we're the best district in the entire state, and if anything, we have tried to be ethical and doing everything in the best service for students. So I'm going to go through this, and I ask for your patience because I want to go through the main points of this and put it on public record of really what they've said and what the truth is. I do want to caution anybody that reads this, please do not read this and think that the quotes are actual laws. Do not take my word for it. I want you to look up the actual laws, and I encourage the public to just give caution when they're reading this. Okay, the first one is the open meeting violation. We've been reported twice to the deputy prosecutor. When I talk about this, I've done screenshots from the grievance. So if you have the actual paper copy or the online copy, which I linked in here, you will see that what is the very top, these are screenshots. So I just copied them, took them and screenshotted so you can see exactly what was in here. This is blatantly false. We were accused of violating open meeting laws twice. Both times have been that we did not violate the open meeting laws. We've been transparent. You can see the very last, there's no actionable violation in either instant. Absent new evidence, it's procedural defect. It's not at all, it considers the matter closed. So that we are not found in violation of that. If you want to read the letter, that was just the conclusion from the deputy prosecutor. If you want to read the actual full memo, it's linked in there. The next piece is maintenance of schools and facility discontinuance. So I really want to point this out why I'm using such blunt words. Complete fabrication of the law. If you look at the grievance language, you see there it says Idaho Code 33511. It states in here that the code language, and you see there's quotations as if it's a direct quotation of the Idaho Code 33511. It's italicized as if it is, and quoted as it is the actual law. The actual code, the Idaho Code, is linked in there. I didn't just be able to show it all on one page. You can look at it in there. They kept saying over and over again that we were required in email and verbally in the public comments that we were required to have a statutory public hearing before the board could vote to relocate the school. If you do, I know this is odd, but when you do, I did a Command F, which is a find, and you look here, that's what this bottom part is here. You probably can't see, but it says hearing, and it says 0 out of 0. I'm showing you that I went into the actual Idaho Code 33511, which you can see is in your district trustees, what you're responsible for. You search for the word hearing, there is no word hearing in there whatsoever. The mention of a hearing is nowhere in the Idaho Code 33511. And I didn't want to trust myself, so I asked our attorney, please read and let me know. Our attorney has also gone through this. There is no mention of a hearing, of a statutory public hearing. Now, when you give this to the public and you say that the board is required to have a statutory public hearing, the public doesn't know that, and so they think that you are required as a board to have a statutory public hearing. And then there's negative comments about the school board saying that you need to have this hearing and that you're violating something. You are not violating the law. You only need a hearing if two districts, you don't need a hearing at all. You only need an election if you have two districts that consolidate into one and then the board wants to discontinue and shut down one of the schools. Districts do that for cost-saving measures, as they may get two districts together and then shut the school. Then you need to have an election, but there is no public hearing required at all. And this is why I'm saying, either it's incompetence for not going through and looking at the code, or there is blatant lying and accusing the school board and district administration for things that are not true. This is just one example, but I think it's very, very important that people take and read each of these pieces in this grievance and for the validity and the truthfulness of it. The next one is that all calendars, they said in the code, they said here that the district didn't, the Board of Trustees is supposed to approve calendars, and that they were hidden in the consent agenda, and that they weren't done, it says, the administration violated the statute by bundling 2 full years of district calendars and 31 separate structural Flex Friday cuts into a single non-debated block vote under the consent agenda. That is blatantly false. All calendars were approved by the board in open session. They were an action item on agendas. Every single one of those, thank you to Clerk Kelly, went through and all the way back to 2022, since I've been the superintendent to 26, and linked them in there so you could see the board agendas. So again, blatantly falsing, accusing the school board or myself of doing this underhandedly when it's absolutely not true. The attorney said, you don't have to have the calendars under action items. We did, but even if we had it in consent agenda, it is not against the law, which is what this is saying. In this one, where it says that it's a reduction in force was done and that we are silently cutting programs, absolutely blatantly false. There has not been a RIF enacted from as far back as I can remember. There has been voluntary transfers and retirements. The HR report is not hidden. It is in the consent agenda, as it is in the districts, all in North Idaho do this. And the board and it's in the board packet, so you could see the HR report. You open up the board packet and it's there. You can see the entire thing. It's not hidden anywhere. And any single person on the board in the consent agenda, which has happened in meetings, can pull out an item and say, I want to discuss this. So even if something is in a consent agenda, it is not hidden. It is still open to the public, and the board can still ask for anything to be discussed in public. Nothing is hidden. The next one is looking at the language here, saying that we cannot have the funding for the alternative school at the at-risk student divisor, which is a 12-to-1 funding mechanism, saying that we can't do it because in their language up there, that it has to have separate, distinct physical sites to secure the payment funding. Divisor footprints. Again, I took that actual code language, is linked there where it says code language, Idaho Code 331002. I did a command find and looked through the entire thing. Is there anything about separate, distinct, physical site? There is not. The attorney, again, has looked at this. That is a complete fabrication of the law that was passed out to you and to the public in this grievance. This is also cited as the ADAPA, which is it's administrative rules that carry the weight of law, and they are also, ADAPA is similar to Idaho Code, but it's just the rules that they enact after the legislative session. This is the same language with separate, distinct site, and they talk about that up here, and there's the actual ADAPA language. There's no mention in this IDAPA 08, 02, 03, 110, which has to do with alternative schools. There is no mention of distinct, specialized operational boundaries, which is the words they use. And in fact, when you talk to the Idaho Department of Education, there are several districts that do not even have enough students to be able to have a separate site. So you can see that language down there in the bottom is a quote from the Idaho Department of Education. Oftentimes they have to be on the campus and share site. They have to share, economies of scale, they have to share some things going back and forth. That's just what they do. Nonetheless, even so, we still are going to have a separate, distinct site for the new LPOHS campus. The next one is you have to have this, and this part was true. I want to give credit where credit's due. The one thing that they said in here that was definitely true, that we are mandated to have designated differences. Designated differences is in the IDAPA, and it talks about you have to provide evidence of teaching strategies clearly designed to serve at-risk youth. That's true. They call it designated differences. So I want to tell you, it's true. We do that. The teachers there do that. The teachers at Sandpoint High School and at Clark Fort and at the middle school and at all 7 elementaries and homeschool academy in our district. We differentiate, we train our teachers to differentiate. Our teachers care so much about students that they automatically differentiate and figure out what strategies work for all kids. There's not just at-risk kids at LPOHS. There's at-risk kids throughout our entire district, K through 12. And our staff, our teachers, you've heard over and over how dynamite they are, amazing, compassionate. They care about kids and they are using strategies throughout every single school in this district. I guarantee you, that's why we do so well. I did talk to the Idaho Department of Education and was on the phone with the people that are in charge of alternative schools and choice learning. And they said the LPOS students may definitely take electives at a different school if it's not the majority of the day. One thing in this grievance language, they're saying you can't use the alternative divisor for funding at the 12-to-1 ratio versus the regular secondary schools are 18.5 to 1. So they're saying that they're reporting us to the state saying you can't count these students for the 12-to-1 ratio if they're not fully over at the alternative school. That is not true. As long as the majority of the student's day is not, when you upload, and I know this is a different term, it's an IC system, it's just how we get funded, and you upload the student demographics, the students are flagged as at-risk students. Once they're found to be eligible and they are identified as the at-risk student, they're flagged. And as long as 50% of their classes are not beyond Lake Pend Oreille High School, then they're funded as at-risk students. It has been that way all the way back to when I was the principal there, and before me, the principal before me, starting in the early 2000s. We have passed every audit. Our alt school, as you heard, got accreditation. Thank you to Principal Chris Davis, who went first year there and got that accreditation. And the alt school application, we just got notification that that was just passed. So we have been through audits, and our attendance has been through audits. And we are, according to the Idaho Department of Education, we're following the letter of the law and IDAPA language for how to get funded for at-risk students. The next one was here the grievance language was concerned with a full FTE, full-time equivalent, being a half-time counselor and a half-time principal. With 51 registered students, we cannot have a full-time principal and a full-time counselor. Luckily, and I can tell you this from experience, personally myself, because I was a certified counselor as well, as Principal Davis is. When you're an alternative school principal, more than most of your time is actually it's in the service of students and helping counsel students, helping with emotional issues, helping, what are problems are coming up and help try to clarify that and figure out problems and how to help the students with all of those. You do a lot of counseling when you're a principal at the alternative school. Nonetheless, legally, we're okay to combine these. There are several schools throughout the entire state that have this, where people have to be at federal programs, a counselor, a principal, a bus driver. Like it happens, we have more rural school districts in our state than we do medium to large size districts. That's just the way it is. It is completely legal. The code only asks that when you have the half-time counselor, the majority of the time has to be in service to students, direct service and contact with students. I guarantee you she will be in direct contact and service of students, at least more than 50% of the time. And part of her time as an administrator will also be in service of students. This waiver that's talked about in the grievance language, the waiver is not required to have somebody that's not full-time principal or not a full-time counselor. That's not accurate. The waiver is only if you have somebody that's going to be a counselor in the school and they don't meet the required specifications for credentialing by the state board. So that's what that language is there at the bottom. So we're not required to submit a waiver. The next one is alleging that we violated federal special education mandates. You can see the language from the grievance up there. It was already dismissed by the Idaho Department of Education. The exact language were the concerns identified do not meet the threshold of an IDEA complaint by our office under cites the federal code. Changing the location, right here, what it's alleging is that if we change the location from the current location of the alternative school to the new location, that we will be out of compliance for all of the students' IEPs, individual education plans, because they say that it was a change of placement. That's not true. Changing the location does not constitute a change of location. Yes, every single IEP, we want to make sure annually these are reviewed. The team members, the parents are there, and the older students at LPO, the students would be there, the teachers, counselors. They would be looking at it. Are the accommodations in the IEP going to be met? How can we continue to meet those accommodations for these students with disabilities at the new location? Completely legal, and that's all going to happen. That's the way that it will roll out. Also, in this part of the grievance, saying that we are forcing students to be in an environment that's not going to support them, that is not true. No students, and we've said it every single month to the board since we've started this discussion, no students will be forced to attend Sanford High School electives or CTE courses if they don't want to. They certainly can stay at LPOHS if they desire, and that's the environment they need to stay in, and they want to choose that, them and their family. The Universal E-Code and Flex Fridays, this is the grievance language here. These are the two pieces that came from the grievance language. We've been in communication and had meetings with the State Department of Education. Flex Fridays and E-Codes are both legal. They meet the letter of the law. Flex Fridays and E-Codes, in this grievance saying that the boards did not approve this, that it was just something that the superintendent put into place. Flex Fridays and E-Codes were approved by the Board of Trustees via board policy, via the calendar that we discussed earlier, and Idaho Code 331619, which identifies and defines hybrid learning. So we are following the letter of the law. If anyone wants to see what the procedures are and what we're following, here's the virtual and hybrid attendance guidance that's in here from the state. And we've had several meetings to ensure that we are open, transparent, and following the letter of the law and the guidance from the State Department of Education. The next accusation was, for the grievance, was a fourth quarter data dumping, saying that if we could see that a student wasn't going to be able to graduate at Sanford High School, that we would move them to Lake Pend Oreille so that Sanford High School could have what they could have to maintain an artificially inflated graduation rate, which is absolutely not true. Students, first of all, as we've said, and I've reported to the board, they must meet the criteria and be eligible to be accepted to LPO. You can't just transfer students because they're not on track to graduate. There's several things that must be in place. Number two, precedent from the last couple of years, Dr. McLaughlin and I have talked to principals like, we need you to take these students. They were on a quarter basis, these are on a semester basis, and it was definitely not. We were trying to get students, and students at Sanford High School were staying at Sanford High School even longer than we thought that should be happening, because it was hard to get them into the alternative school. So we're not data dumping, absolutely not forcing students to transfer. And LPOH's graduation rate has gone from about 50% up to 80%. That wouldn't happen if we were just putting students there to graduate. And SHS's graduation rate is definitely not inflated if you look where it is within the state. It would be much higher, if that was the case. It's accurate. Preemptive homeschool form protocol. So in this one, there was a false statement. It says here that students were being routinely coerced by administration to sign undated, standardized state intent to homeschool withdrawal. So I don't know where that information is coming from. That part, students are not coerced, and they do not sign. Students aren't the ones that sign withdrawal forms. Parents sign withdrawal forms, and they sign and date it. In the other schools, they sign and date it when they're left. A practice that started before me, that I did when I was the Sanford High School, the Lake Pend Oreille high school principal, is often when alternative school families, when they would leave, we had trouble locating them. It was harder to locate families, so we did have a paper form. It said if Johnny was to leave, how would you continue their education? Would you do GED? Would you do homeschool? Would they not be going to school? What would you do? And often families would say, oh, we're gonna homeschool. They would sign and date it. They don't post-date it. We don't have to go and do an ink sampling that talks about in the grievance that we need to have the ink dated and sampled. It is not, the families dated the date that they were at in the intake interview with the alternative school principal. And you can see from the records, if it was always being used universally, turned in, we would have 100% graduation rate if it was a universal. It's not. It was only on file if a family was unable to be located and had said they were going to homeschool. Otherwise, there was dropouts, there was GEDs, there were people going to the military and other places. If you get an actual transfer form from a different one, then they're transferred to a different school. So it's not overused, and it's definitely not being coerced. But I do agree that maybe that's not the best public perception for the alternative school to say we're assuming that everyone's gonna, signing this. And I don't want anybody to think that we're trying to do anything underhanded or to pad any numbers. So I have said, even though the state has approved the form and said it's perfectly legal what we're doing, I feel like it's best, and I'm going to ask the principals not to do that this next year, that we will have a QR code we're gonna use, we're gonna have an online form, and we're gonna try to locate families, send them the QR code and say, can you fill this out? I assume that our numbers will go down, but I'm willing to take that because I feel like I wanna make sure people know that we're not trying to do anything unethical or to cook the books or anything to that effect. So we are gonna change that practice for the withdrawal form. This next one was House Bill 521, and several people spoke about this last month in public comments about the School Modernization Facility Fund, saying in here, in the grievance, that we were not legally able to use the funds, even though for next year it's going to be Sandpoint Middle School, and they're going to be using it, as you heard from Facilities Director Matt Deal, we're going to be using all of those portables in the restrooms for the student. 1/3 of the student body is going to be out with those portables in there as they work on 1/3 of the building, and it's going to go throughout the year. But regardless, and then the board voted to move the relocation there. Regardless, you are not obligated to be tied to the first 10-year plan. We have the exact quote there. Thanks for asking, you are correct. The only requirement was to submit it one time to qualify for House Bill 521. And CFO Brian Wallace talked to you about having to submit receipts. So he puts in those receipts, and as long as those are for capital projects, they're approved. I am going to, again, for transparency, to make sure that you are sharing with the public as transparently as possible. For next meeting, we're bringing back that 10-year plan with the different changes. We're going to be meeting tomorrow and finalizing our recommendations to you and having you vote on that at the September board meeting. We're not required to, as you can see, and all the documents are there. But I do want to be as transparent as possible, so that's what we're going to be doing. So my closing thoughts, I really want to make sure that we can focus back on students. I feel like we've heard from a lot of adults. We've heard, obviously, from a lot of people that don't agree with my perspective or with my recommendation. I'm okay with that. I understand that. But I really think that we've gone through this, and we need to move past it. It makes me sad, and I said last time I was disappointed. I think the feeling is actually sad. It makes me sad that there are people in the community that have read this or read things online that are not true about you as leaders of the district, about the district leadership, or about our practices, thinking that anything might lack integrity in our district. It's just not true. Anybody who's worked with the 5 of you or myself or the district leaders in this district know the center of everything we do is the students. Like, all decisions are run through what's best for students. And truly, from my perspective, to be able to offer these elective opportunities and access to CTEC is really, for us to keep this school open and access for these students to be able to have that family feel. I believe that this location, it's not attached to the location. I know that this new location, with the leadership of Chris Davis and her staff,
they're gonna create something very special and magical with student voice. And I know if people could just trust and wait, this is going to be very great for kids and for our community for the future. I know it will be. And I know the family feel and everything that's great about LPOHS now with the staff and the students, it will be replicated and even be able to expand further than that. So I just want to say, I hope this is the last time that we have to discuss this. We can move on to all the other great things that we're doing in the district, this being one of them. So I want to thank the board for your patience through this. I know it was long, and I'm not done with my superintendent report, but if there is any questions on this part specifically, I will go quickly through the next part. I just want to make sure that this part, if the board has any questions before I continue.
No, well done.
Yeah.
Okay, our theme, Green Light to Shine for the year. I want to say, you know, on the piggyback of us being an ethical district and a great district and one of the best in the state, this came out a little bit ago with the new law that passed last year, House Bill 883. There are certain districts in the state that have a stable financial stability, and they have met certain academic benchmarks which are listed there. They would have the ability to not turn in all the reports, maybe have some flexibility in what they're having to do as what they call the red tape committee. Look at who's put there, Lake Pend School District. That shows you that we're doing the right work and that we're going to be recognized by the legislature for that. So I think that's really important to show that. A real quick strategic plan update. This is mid-cycle. It is a 5-year strategic plan. And every year I bring you an update. We're just right over halfway through the strategic plan and the deliverables. Student learning is at the center of everything we do. This is what your goals as the board. So this is the student learning. You know that your one trusted adult is 99.38%. Graduation rate, Dr. McLaughlin reported on that, 91.2%. We'll have that updated in February next year for this year. Student achievement, 80%, almost 81%, but 80%. The final results after it gets scrubbed will be released either tomorrow or Thursday, and we'll update that as we know it. Same with the math, up 2%. We wanted to grow 3%. Final results, though, will be out in the next 2 days. School safety, we always do an annual report for you. The only thing that I really want to add this year is the Stop the Bleeds kits is in every single room, and much thank you. I already gave recognition to all the donors and the grants we got last time, but this is really, we only have a few things left on our list. It was definitely changed around, reverted, we're flip-flopped when we first started, and we've got a lot going on. Look, we even have one right here in the flesh. Thank you, baby.
He does HVAC also.
Okay, our grand opening, I can't say enough about it. There's going to be a lot of great things you'll see at C-Tech when it's open. Tuesday, September 15th, so make sure it's in your calendar. Oh, look, there's some. You can't even tell that I don't have hair in that piece. I kind of like that piece. And I do want to send a really special shout out to Idaho Forest Group. Look at that as when you walk into C-Tech. That is beautiful, and they donated all of that. So they have been so special in helping out with Scotty Fitchett with the residential carpentry. They've given a ton. It's been really nice to have that partnership. Thank you, Matt. That's just for the public if they want to look at all the programs, and there's a video in there that they can look at that's really well done. I'd encourage you to look. Our community and student connection, we have the student safety every year. We did that this year, reminding you we did student health, mental health and well-being. And then recruit, retain quality staff. Our staff satisfaction, 4.24, was in February. And these were the annual themes on what we were doing well and what areas they want us to focus on. This was the longitudinal data. I did some report back to the board on how we were meeting the needs and the wishes of the staff. Oh, there's Mike. We already recognized Mike. Also, if you look, Stephanie was 3rd in the state. So we had a 1st and a 3rd, which is pretty incredible. And then Alex, he was the best trainer in the entire district, the entire state. So he got this School Bus Driver Trainer of the Entire Year award. So pretty amazing for us in that department. So thank you to James for your leadership. Child Nutrition and Bobby's, thank you for your leadership. She got the Campfire Connection Award. So she got for the whole state, just that they're building relationships and forming strong community partnerships. Bobby was able to accept that down at the conference. And you can see Donna's there, she's at Sagal, and look, she was the lunch lady of the year, of the whole year that she got it. So, and you can see the cowboy theme. So that's pretty special. We've just been over and over getting awards here. Fresh fruit and vegetable grant, that's a tongue twister. Bobby got 5. She got every single one she wrote this year. And for really healthy, it's great if you know that what this is for students to try different kinds of fruits and vegetables and have this every day. It's amazing. For quality staff, our PD, remember, is to provide robust and relevant PD. We just are showing you some PD we did with our admin team, and then you already have a report of what we did in October for our PD for behavior for all of our staff, which was really well received. Community Connection, this was our annual parent, fresh off, you don't know this yet, this is fresh off the books. We had a 90.1% overall satisfaction, 3.38 out of 4 scale this year. Last year we were at 3.35, so we're up just a little bit. Their parent engagement, this is their self-reflection on how engaged they are, 3.05 out of 4, same as 3.05, and last year's 3.04, so about the same. Their top 3 things that they love, always teachers and staff, is huge. Educational opportunities and school safety. Awesome, that was the first time that was in the top. And then what do they want us to see improved? Facilities, we're working on it right now, as you've heard in the report, extracurricular opportunities, and there's a list of others that I will share with the board that people gave their comments, so I will give that, share that directly with the board. And what are their top priorities? Class sizes, small reasonable class sizes, small neighborhood schools, and educational opportunities. Here's the community connection with the welcome back loop, and you can link on there to get any of our past loops for the last 4 years. At the PAFE Gala, and thank you to PAFE people that are here, thank you to all the PAFE that have done they were amazing, and I won't say how much they make because I don't know if it's public, but it was a huge amount, and it all goes to support our school district. This is just what I wrote to the PAFE board to thank them for everything they did. So a couple of pictures there. It was gorgeous. So really well done. And all the money goes to helping the staff and our strategic initiatives, and so really appreciate that. A shout out to Coach Love, to Dr. Love. He brought the basketball from U of I, and they did a clinic, and it was just really well received, high quality. You can see our coaches here with the U of I guys. And it was just a youth clinic that it went above and beyond for North Idaho. It was really well done. So thank you to Coach Dr. Love for getting that set up. Our back to school nights are coming up. Last year, you remember we tried to do them all in one night, and some families couldn't make it with elementary kids at Southside, and then when you have kids at the middle or high school, you couldn't get to both places, so we did vote to put it back into separate nights again. So these are the 2 nights, and Shelby created this. It's going out to the welcome back. Luke will be Thursday or Friday this week, and then principals will send out specifics to their. Okay, that's it. Any questions? Sorry it was so long. Longest ever.
I don't have any questions off the top of my head. I just want to thank you for addressing all of the concerns. You know, like you said, it's important. We take it very seriously. You slap a 40-page document in front of us and send it off to all the agencies and accuse us, and we have no recourse to that, but to try to get the truth out there. I really hope that we get a fair shake in the press and the true story gets out there, because there's been an awful lot of one side of the story, and unfortunately, people glom onto that and go.
Yeah.
People live on Facebook. That's why I said we're not going to address that stuff, because it's not true. And I think it's also very important to understand everybody in here works their tails off for students every single day. And we signed up for this, we know it, we've got thick skin. But when you have people in an outburst saying out loud about somebody's personal health and a fight that you've been going through,
Yeah.
the callous comments of somebody saying something like that completely is just totally uncalled for and ridiculous. And in my opinion, it makes it very hard for anybody in that camp to not look at the facts of what's actually going on and how can you possibly defend some of those statements. So I want to thank everybody for listening to this. It's important to point these things out. And I personally want to thank you for all of the hard work and dedication. If it weren't for you losing your hair or needing to wear a face mask, I challenge that anybody would even know that you have been going through what you've gone through. And you worked your tail off through the entire thing, and you did it with grace and took a beating along the way that was not called for. And you know, there's the receipts. Look at the numbers. We're doing great. These are good decisions that we're making for the entire district. So I want to thank you personally and the rest of the board for hanging in there, and JD and the entire staff for taking some pretty rough comments. So
Yeah, the whole staff, because when you disparage myself or the school board, you're really disparaging all the people that work together. We're a team. You know, you said it in the very beginning, the Strengths Focus said, we're a team and we want to be a team. And so anything that's said negative against myself as a board really reflects on our entire district, which just isn't true. We are an amazing district. We're a top district in the entire state. People call us for advice. So I'm happy that you are here and you're all still here again, and I appreciate your patience. And I appreciate you letting me go through that tonight. I feel like it was really important. So thank
and
you.
I'm also very proud of LPOHS.
Yes.
It is a fantastic group of students and staff that are changing lives.
Yes.
Literally.
Yes.
So I don't want all of this noise to distract from the great quality education and life-changing interventions that are happening there.
Yes.
That only happens because people care about this.
Yes.
So.
100%.
I would like to just thank you for your courage and your leadership and your professionalism through all this. I know it's got to be hard, but we have your back. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we don't have any public comment. No. Huh. Next up, we have the consent agenda, and I will entertain a motion of consent agenda.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
That motion passes. Next, we're moving on to board action items. We do have a handful of things that are up tonight. These are like our annual services and stuff that we put out for bid. Talking to Kelly beforehand, we pull these out of consent agenda when we have new board members so that they can see the process and really dive into these things. It's fine to keep them in the consent agenda. It is our practice as a board in transparency to pull them out. But first up, we have the board agenda request for seeking architectural services for the LPOHS South Division project. The board agenda request is pretty clear on this. Do we have any questions on this request? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve engaging with LTA Architects for LPOHS South Division project.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That motion passes. Next up, we have the adoption of the special education manual. Dr. Doy Jansen's not here tonight, but the agenda request is also very clearly identified here to find out what we need. Does anybody have any questions on that one here? Okay. I will entertain a motion for special education manual.
I make a motion to adopt the 2025 Idaho Department of Education Special Education Manual.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That motion passes. Next up, we have a request to surplus some lyres. We have 20 lyres.
Musical instruments.
The spelling's important on this. Apparently, they are not getting strummed as much as they used to, so we're going to get them out to surplus. I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to surplus the 20 lyres on the district surplus auction site.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That motion passes to surplus the.
Should have brought one out for that.
Musical instrument lyres. Next up, we have our dairy bid. Same as every year, we go out to bid for dairy and buses and everything. Does anybody have any questions on the bid?
Nope.
No? All right, I will hear a motion.
I make a motion to award the dairy bid to Terry's Dairy.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Terry's Dairy back in for another year. Next up, we have the bid for snow removal for the upcoming year. It's mix and match, as you will see, depending on location of who's actually going to perform those services. Did you guys have any questions on any of those? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to award the 2026-2027 snow removal bids as presented.
I second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That motion passes. Next up, we have the heating fuel bid. Pretty straightforward on this one. Any questions on this one? I will entertain a motion on that as well.
I move to award the district's 2026-2027 propane and number one heating oil bills to Coleman Oil / City Service Valcon, a family of companies.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That motion passes. Next up, we have the award bus and support vehicle fuel bid. Same thing here, pretty clear request. Do you guys have any questions on this?
No.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to accept the bid for bus and support vehicle fuel from Coleman Oil in Sandpoint.
And second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that motion passes. Next up, we have the bus bid. It was shocking to me from when I started to what these numbers are now. Holy cow. But they are nice new buses. We rode one out to pavement. It was sweet. So, any questions on this one? No. Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to purchase 3 new buses from Western Mountain Bus Sales and surplus 3 buses from the current bus fleet after new buses are received. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion passes. Next up, we are on to a couple of second readings of policy. This first one is 2353, the minute of silence, totally new policy, new code in the state. Pretty straightforward. We'll see what happens. But does anybody have any questions on any of this?
Good luck, teachers.
Yes. All right, I will entertain a motion for 2350.
I make a motion to adopt new policy 2353, minute of silence.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That motion passes. Next up, we have 4175, required annual notice. And this just has the minute of silence added to it. It's the only revision in this policy. Any questions? Entertain a motion on that one.
I make a motion to adopt the revisions to policy 4175, required annual notices.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That motion passes. All right, next up, we are on to first readings. Got a few here tonight. First one up is 3295, hazing, harassment, intimidation, bullying, cyberbullying. Not shocked that there's going to be changes to this stuff, as it's a pretty fast-moving world, these things. Do you have any questions on this? Dr. Meyer, do you have any input?
This is based on the new law that was passed, so the revisions here are based on cyberbullying and reporting that we need to do. So that's investigation and notification, that's what those changes are here.
Yeah.
You can see that we added that here at the bottom, and we date it down.
Just coming into compliance with new code requirements. No questions on that? Okay. Next up, we have 3315, weapons. This is
the last time that this had been updated was 2015. There's been some changes, so we updated all of this, and you can see when you look through it, the things that are defined but different than they were prior. There's just been a lot of changes that have happened in the last 11 years.
Anybody have any questions on just the general? No. Okay. Next up, we have 4600 volunteer assistance. This is a new policy.
We didn't have a policy, and we actually wanted to be able to help out TJ at Sandpoint High School and other ADs to just have some parameters with board policy on volunteer assistance. So we have help from HR Director Christine Stevens, and then looking at some principals and AD, and then ISBA recommendations. And so that's what this whole thing is based on.
So they can help out with day-to-day stuff, but not the administrative part? Or are we talking city's helpers or?
No, they can still help, but we didn't have any board policy about volunteers. Okay. It was just like, it's happening in practice, but there's not something to fall back on as far as a board policy. So when Clerk Kelly looked through, it's like, we don't have a board policy. So she found the recommended ISBA recommendation model policy, and then we talked to other people and then created it for our district.
Very good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have something in writing.
Yeah. And like so many, I mean, we find our practice is what the policy, I mean, our policy always, this is what we already do, but we're just putting it in policy, which is good. Next up, we have 5900 prohibition on staff support of social transactions in compulsory gender language.
So this, you remember last month I reported on the House bill, and the patron had 3 questions. I reported to you at last board meeting in response to her 3 questions. So that law, along with another law that was about gender language, the one specifically that we talked about that she had questions about was this 5900, the prohibition on staff support of social transitions. So I just want to make it clear, and I will bring this up here just to show you. The intro is really the why. This isn't model policy. I took some model policy, I took the law, I'm open to any feedback that the board has, but this wasn't a cut and paste. This was me spending a lot of time reading the laws, what are we required by law, and then putting them, what's in our community, the culture and climate of our community, and then putting in what do we do already in practice, what are we required to do, and I melded those all together. They wanted us to have separate policies, and I put it all together into one policy, and I tried to make it concise, but I really wanted the public, or anybody who may read board policy, which probably isn't a lot of people in the public, but that intro paragraph, I wanted to give the why that there was this policy. We aren't just creating this was based on Idaho code being passed by the legislatures. And I want to protect our district because I will remind you, this one has the heaviest monetary value civil penalty of up to $100,000. I don't know if you've read about it.
10 years in jail.
It is the highest amount that you could possibly have. And we are a covered entity as a district, so we're going to be very clear. And then district leadership team, along with our employee relation, is going to work on a procedure for staff, so it's clearly outlined that they can share with their staff, with their class in the beginning of the year. So we really want to provide a lot of clarity for our staff so nobody feels that they're out on a limb not knowing what to do.
Yeah. No, I think it's very important to have very clear policy on this.
Yeah.
So.
And I encourage everyone to read it and then let me know if you have other questions or other ideas or something that you don't understand that's in here or why it is. I would welcome anything. Yeah.
Any questions right now on that one? Or feedback
No.
right now? Okay. Next one up, we have 9605 facilities and overnight rooms separated by sex. Another new policy.
And this is, again, Chair Williams, this is a prior code. This is already happening in practice with our ADs, and Dr. McLaughlin and I have talked to them and made sure when the law came out what we were doing. This, I was going to try to get all of the Idaho code together, and this didn't fit in with the other ones, so this I kept into a separate policy. And then just made sure that it was clear what was required by our coaches and any advisors that are with there. So all of that is based on Idaho code for protecting the privacy and safety of students in public schools.
Okay.
Well written.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions on that policy? Right
No.
now? Okay. All right, thank you. We will move on to administrative announcements.
Oh, look
I think you're so patient.
Because I know she comes with props. I just have fun to share. Principal Costingham, Champlain High School, I just wanted to share that we do have 4 students using their advanced opportunity monies that are signed up for EMT training, and their classes begin next week, so that's a pretty amazing opportunity that they're taking part of. We also have 7 foreign exchange students coming to Champlain High School next year, and I'm going to be participating in a panel with some other people with Rotary, just how to make sure that we're ensuring their success and how we can continue that program, because it's a pretty exciting way for us to get some cultural experience. And we have had over 400 students sign up so far for sports. And I'm just going to let AD Clary share a little bit, because we've had a busy week already with the last 2 days of AQA and all of that. So.
Lots of fun. Our games start this next Friday on the 21st. So we have Twin Falls coming all the way up north to play us for football, so that's going to be exciting. Then we have soccer and volleyball that starts next Saturday. So please come out and support the kids. They're working hard and they're all indoors. Hopefully the air clears out tomorrow and we can get out on the field. But if not, we're going to possibly start busing kids to fields that have better air. So we're doing everything we can. But yeah, please come out. The kids work hard, they practice hard, and they need that support. So, and we need positivity out there to support them. So thank you.
Yeah. Colleen.
Miss Cindy Albertson, so funny, has been wonderful to us for the past few years, acting as our counselor. And we have a new, she's going to retire, finally, again. And we have a new, Danny Schoenrock is going to be joining our team and teaching our some of our lessons for us. And I'm so excited to have her come on board. We're also going to be offering some outdoor education classes to our 4th and 5th graders. So we're so excited about these teeny little tweaks to Northside, and very excited, always. Every time I come to these board meetings, I think I'm not going to talk about my own kids. Like, I'm not going to talk about my own kids. But today I have to talk about my own kids. So, because it has to do with the middle and high school. So this year, I am sending a son to Sandpoint High School, and I brought this and a daughter to Sandpoint Middle School, and my heart could not be more happy about it. And they are leaving me at elementary school, so yeah, thank you.
Anybody else?
We have one thing from the district leadership team. Casey's handwriting. We'd like to say happy birthday to Scott Wood, and I have a pie for you. I don't know if you want to sing happy birthday.
We don't have to do that.
Okay, thank you.
I want to thank members of PAFE that are here. Thank you guys for coming, and thank you for everything that you guys do. I was at the PAFE Gala this couple weekends ago, and it was great. Had a great time. So thank you guys for all your support. It's really fantastic. All right. Having no other administrative announcements, I will entertain a motion to go into executive session.
Gotta put my glasses on in case I need to read
Are you going?
Someone, all right, well, I got it.
Oh,
I make a motion to move into executive session as provided for in Idaho Code Title 74, Section 206, subsection 1B, to consider the evaluation, dismissal, or disciplining of the board, to hear complaints or charges brought against a public officer, employee, staff member, or individual agent, or public student.
I second.
Okay.
Good job.
I made it.
We have a roll call vote, please.
Roll call vote, trustee Wood.
Aye.
Trustee Hutchins.
Aye.
Trustee Williams.
Aye.
Trustee Demers.
Aye.
Chair Lonnie.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right. That will move into executive session.